table below gives the violent crime rate per 100,000 people for a particular state every 5 years from 1970 to 2010. First, we're going to use our graphing calculator to find the cubic function that is the best fit for this data, where x is the number of years after 1970, and then we're going to use that model to estimate the violent crime rate in this state for 1983. So first, we need to put in our data, so we go to Stat, Edit, and I've already typed all of mine in. Under List 1, I've given the year. Under List 2, I've given the rate. Now, notice we're told that the x variable is the number of years after 1970. So for 1970, I used 0 because it's 0 years after itself. 1975 is 5 years after 1970, and so on. So once you have your data in, you hit Stat, Calc, and just like we did before with linear regression and quadratic regression, now what we're going to do is look at cubic regression. So I hit Enter. List 1, List 2. If you want to store the regression equation so you can look at the graph, you would hit VARS, select y-vars and function. So I'm just going to call it y1. And then I'm going to hit Calculate. So our function is negative 3.4-ish x cubed plus 0.02 x squared minus 0.05 x plus 4.8. And then our r squared, you can see, is very high, so this is probably a very good fit for the data. Let's look at the graph. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the window. And I'm going to change it based on our data set. So we went from year 0 to 40. So I'm just going to go from maybe -1 for my x to, I don't know, 42 maybe. And then for my y-min, this goes from 4.8 to 12.3 is the largest number. So I'll go from, I don't know, 4 to 14. We don't have to be super precise here. We're just trying to get a better picture of what the graph looks like. So I hit Graph again, and we see that. Okay, let's see how well it fits the scatter plot of the actual data. So to do that, we hit Second, Stat Plot, and we need to turn on the scatter plot. Hit Graph again. And it looks like this is a very good fit. So, to use the model to estimate the violent crime rate in 1983, instead of typing all of that separate stuff in, I'm going to use my graph to do it. To use that function, I have to turn stat plot back off or I'll get an error. So I go back to the graph. And I hit Trace. And I'm going to hit the year that I'm interested in, which is 1983. That's 13 years after 1970, so I'll type in 13, enter, and we'll see here the y-coordinate is going to correspond to the predicted violent crime rate in 1983 for that particular state, which is 6.7. What does 6.7 mean? Well, this is the crime rate per 100,000 people for this particular state.